Hello everyone, Marquette coming to you from Cumberland on Vancouver Island. Let's talk about BC's economy. It's in trouble. The engine of British Columbia's economy has historically been forestry, but the forest industry is in a complete mess right now. Mills are closing left, right, and center, and the big question is, where does BC go from here? And the answer is actually in plain sight, which I'll get to. But first, the hard truth is that the forest industry was always going to get to this endpoint. It had been over-harvesting for years and years, and now the trees are all basically gone. The ones that are growing back, the poor spindly little things, won't ever produce the kind of wealth that the original old-growth forests did, unless people are willing to wait, 6,000 or 7,000 years. So BC needs to figure out what to do next with its vast land base. Unlike the prairies, where much of the land base is in agriculture or ranching and is mostly private, BC is mostly mountains, forested, and public. Originally, the way for BC to exploit all those forests was by harvesting fur-bearing animals. The fur trade essentially built the foundations of British Columbia. But that industry faded, and along came the question, now what? Well, the answer was to say, hey, instead of harvesting the animals in the forest, we could harvest the trees in the forest. So that's what BC did for the next century, which brings us to today. Now that all the trees are basically gone, well, at least all the valuable trees, the same question has come up. Now what? The obvious answer is to realize that a forest isn't just animals, it isn't just trees, it's also plants. And what can you do with wild plants? Well, the answer is natural medicine. BC already has a real advantage here because the best natural medicines come from plants that are not only found in the wild, they're also found in the most biologically diverse environments. BC is the most biologically diverse province across the whole of Canada, by a long shot. BC has well over 3,000 vascular plant species. Ontario, a much larger province, is actually kind of poor in comparison. It has less than 2,000 native species. In other words, BC's vast forests and public lands are filled with a huge treasure trove of medicinal plants. Creating a natural health industry using wild harvested plants is a no-brainer for British Columbia. It's not a new idea. There are already a limited number of companies involved in this, like Natural Factors and Organica over in Vancouver, or Tiny Ravensong Seeds and Herbals just up the road in Black Creek, and then there's Harmonic Arts right here in Cumberland, who all make great products, but are all constrained in what they can do. And the problem is that the pharmaceutical giants of the world see natural medicine as competition, and they definitely don't want that. So they've done everything they can to crush natural medicine for the better part of a century. And the most effective way to do that is to control the government agencies that regulate this stuff, and then make it really difficult, by law, for an independent natural health medicine industry to succeed. And the agency in Canada complicit in this is federal. It's Health Canada. And Health Canada has basically forbid the common use of natural plants for medicine through layers and layers and layers and layers of paperwork that basically dissuades anyone from even trying. Now, as long as Health Canada rules with a hidden malfeasance and doesn't allow basic things like, say, using wild harvested Usnea lichen in cough medicine, for example, then the province of British Columbia will never be able to create a viable natural medicine industry from the abundance of medicinal plants it has in its vast forests. In other words, the biggest impediment to BC's potentially lucrative future from its forests is the federal government. With Health Canada being so ingrained in the bureaucratic structure of Canada, the only way that Medusa will ever be slayed is to get rid of Canada itself. And the only way I see that happening is if Alberta separates, thus breaking apart the entire country, leaving British Columbia to suddenly be on its own, free of the federal government, and able to use its forests in a way that up to now it has not been able to do. Until then, the arguments over BC's forest industry will probably just continue on as a trifling banter. The long view is that BC still has a fur industry, and it still will have a timber industry. It's just that neither will be as big or as important as they once were, because BC's forest future is no longer in the animals or in the timber, it's in the plants, it's in natural medicine. And so in a weird twist of fate, it appears the best thing that could happen to British Columbia is that Alberta leaves.